Welcome to Board Gamers Anonymous, the podcast about board gamers and the insane fun we have at the table together. This is Chris.
This is Anthony.
This is Daniel.
And this is Drew.
Welcome to the podcast, everyone. We're so glad to have you join us here this week. We have a great episode for you. Some really interesting acquisition disorders that are really going to blow your mind, some at the tables, and a special Kick in the Habit feature review of Between Two Cities. This week we have a special feature for you. A Kick in the Habit presented by Stonemaier Games, Between Two Cities, designed by Ben Russett and Matthew O'Malley, and art by Beth Sobel. It's a 3 to 7 player game with a 1 to 2 player variant. It plays within 25 minutes and it's for ages 8 and up. It's the early 1800s, time of immense construction and urbanization. You are a world-renowned master planner who's been asked to construct 2 different cities to help rebuild their city centers. Projects of such significance require the expertise of more than one person, so for each assignment, you are paired with another master planner to execute your grandiose plans. Will your planning and collaborative skills be enough to design the most impressive city in the world? Anthony, we got a chance to play this game at Dreamation 2015, the 4 of us, and then you and I got to play a 2-player version of this. Why don't you walk us through an overview about the game and talk about the different mechanics?
This is a very unique game in a lot of ways, although it will feel extremely familiar the first couple times you play it. So the game is based on a couple of mechanics you're going to be very familiar with. The first of which is this idea of drafting. Everybody starts each round with a hand of tiles. You're going to be drafting them between however many players there are. You're also going to be building out a tableau based on the tiles that you place down. Again, very much like other games you've played, like Seven Wonders or Among the Stars. It's also going to involve a little bit of co-op play, although it's definitely fits into that semi-cooperative angle of things because there is only one winner at the end of this game. And that's where the game becomes very unique. So throughout the game, you're actually building 2 separate cities, one on your left, one on your right, one with one partner, one with the other partner. And as you draft the tiles, as you pass them around the table, you'll pick 2 from your hand each time, place them face down, everybody at the table flips them over at the same time, and then you start discussing with your 2 partners which of those 2 tiles is going to fit into your city. And this is where things get really interesting because while you need to make sure that you win, you also don't want your partner to win, so you have to try to make sure everything's kind of balanced on your side. And the tricky part is, while you have 2 cities, only one of their scores counts, and it's the low score. So it's not going to behoove you to ramp up your score on one side and down on the other. You have to make sure your cities are pretty balanced. So you need to constantly be looking not only at what you're building with your partners, but also what they're building with their partners, and make sure that you are getting the best of the deal. You can't really discuss what tiles are hidden in your hand when you pass them around. So in the drafting phase, you can't say to the person to your left, hey, there's a park in here, so maybe we should make sure we play the parks. But you can discuss openly once you've played your tiles face up what your strategy is or what you want them to think it is. That's a fun part of the game. Again, it's a semi-cooperative game. It's only cooperative in this particular aspect. At the end of the game, only one winner. Another cool part of the game, because of how everything's done simultaneously, is it takes the same amount of time no matter how many players there are, a lot like Seven Wonders. It can go up to 7 players, but it's still a 25-minute game. It's very cool because it's kind of, in Seven Wonders, you do end up feeling like things are very insular. You're playing with your own cards, you're not really interacting with other players except maybe the military aspect. In this game, you have to interact with the other players. If you don't, you're not going to build out the city that's the best for you on either side. So in terms of the game itself, mechanically speaking, there are a number of different types of tiles, 6 overall. Each of the tiles has a special purpose. There are shops, there are parks, there are houses, office buildings, taverns, and factories. Each of these can be played from your hand in various combinations. Some you have to play in a row, like the shops. Some have to be played in pairs, like the parks. Some have to be played in volume, like the offices. And others you have to collect sets, like the taverns. And based on how you play these and how you match them up to the various forms of scoring that are available, you'll score points at the end of the game. You don't score throughout the game, you do score at the very end based on the tableau you've built. And the final tableau will be 16 different tiles. And it'll vary depending on placement, it'll vary depending on the order in which you put them, it'll vary depending on the volume in which you place them. And then there are some that are affected by other players. In the factory, for example, the players with the most factories are going to score more points per factory than everybody else. So that's one of those areas where you have to keep track of what everybody else is doing. There's also a very unique second round to this game when for the first and third round, you're just getting one tile, has one building on it. That's the drafting phase. The second round, however, you're going to get duplex tiles. Everybody's just going to draw 3 of those duplex tiles, and each of those duplex tiles has 2 buildings on it. And the interesting part is they're oriented in different ways. So some are horizontal and some are vertical, and you have to place those according to their orientation. You're only going to get 3 when you draft, though. You have to pick 2 of those 3, and you have to play them. There's no drafting there. So even if you get 3 tiles that are completely worthless to you for those particular 2 cities, you got to play them. So this is a very interesting part of the game. It kind of mixes things up. It forces you to rethink strategy. Sometimes you have to tweak things a little bit. And I think it adds a lot to what generally in a drafting game becomes a very rote, kind of circular motion. It's a fun little mix up to the way the game plays. In the end, though, you're going to have 4 by 4 to form 16 squares, and you'll do the scoring at the very end based on the specific score metrics for each of those 6 buildings, and you'll see who has the lowest score, the highest low score. If you tie with somebody, which is very likely since you share each of those cities with somebody else, your tiebreaker is the high score. So if the city on your left is your lowest score, and it's also the lowest score of the person on your left, then you'll look to the second city that you built to see which of them is higher scored. So 9 times out of 10, you'll only go to that first tiebreaker because the second city will be a little bit different. Very unique game, a lot of different play mechanics here. It seems like it's going to have high replayability because of the interaction factor. The game's a little different in the 2-player variant, which we can go into a little bit later. But the 3 to 7 player variant is a very unique take on a very familiar mechanic. Daniel, I know you've been taking a look at the Kickstarter page, which should be up today when we launch this. What does it look like in terms of what people are going to be getting?
I'm sorry. Wait, sorry. I've been obsessively stalking this page. Were you saying something? Yeah. So it looks fantastic. I've not closed it since I've opened it. They gave us a little preview link, and I am seriously considering staying up till midnight so I can back it then. It looks fantastic. There's 3 real levels of support plus the usual $1 one, and they're gonna make a toast to you in your favorite city if you give them $1. At $29 or more, you get a copy of Between Two Cities with all stretch goals, and you can add up to 2 extra copies for $29 each. At $39 or more, you get a special edition, which gives you some additional more wooden tokens for representing your city and moving them on the scoring track. They're purely aesthetic, but they're pretty cool looking. And an individually numbered gold foil embossed game box. And then at $99, you get 3 copies of the special edition. So in the standard box, right, the retail game, you're going to get 108 building tiles, 24 duplex tiles, 7 pairs of wooden city tokens. This is how you match your move up the track with your cities to keep track of what city scored what. You get 1 scoreboard, a rule book in English, and 7 reference cards. And the special edition, that's the $39 level or more, you're going to get 7 more pairs of wooden city tokens that lets you sort of switch up what little tokens you want to have. And the tokens are really cool. There's like little St. Louis Arch, there's the Taj Mahal, there's the Coliseum, and in the special edition, you get things like the Arc de Triomphe, the U.S. Capitol Building, Brandenburg Gate. So you get all these really cool, iconic features of cities around the world. And then you also get a French and German version of the rulebook for those of you who need that. The tile art is pretty simple, but representative and pretty good looking. As you said, Anthony, the gameplay is fantastic. It's really creative. Right now, they've not listed a lot of their stretch goals. They're going to wait till 24 hours after launching, but knowing Stonemaier games and knowing how they work, and having just gotten Euphoria and desperately pining over their treasure chest, which I didn't fund and I'm kicking myself for, I am certain that the stretch goals are going to follow and be adequate. Honestly, I'm surprised to see it starting off at $29 as your initial level of funding, because that is considerably less than I thought this game would go for. It's about $10 less. I thought the special edition level is where the normal level would sit, and that the special edition would be $50 or $60. And when Chris said it was going to be like $30, there's no way. There's no way this game will be for $30. That would be way too cheap. So I'm going to fund this immediately. It's probably going to be the first thing I do tomorrow if I don't get to it tonight. It's just a beautiful game and a very promising Kickstarter, I think.
So you'll definitely say you'll kick that off, Daniel?
Oh, yeah. I'm going to kick this off as hard as I can. I'm expecting to, hurt my foot in the process. It's a great deal. It's a great game. And, you can't really ask for more than that. I mean, Stonemaier has never put me in the wrong direction before. So, yeah, I'm definitely going to kick this off, and I'm going to suggest that all of our listeners do so as well.
How about you, Drew? You got a chance to play. What did you think?
I love this mechanic. Building two at one time and trying to balance. It's beautiful.
Yeah, so definitely the card drafting, which has been in play in a lot of games recently, probably first most popularly in Fairy Tale, and then Seven Wonders just kind of exploded. And then, as Anthony was saying earlier, there's the tableau building. So once you pick the tiles and place the tiles, depending where you place them, a la Suburbia, that's going to have a big difference in the game, because, as Anthony was saying in the overview, the parks need to be put together, and certain buildings are going to benefit off of other buildings. So there's some positive effects, some negative effects, some ways to kind of... The one challenge for me would be the kind of Hanabi mechanic where you're speaking to the other players or communicating to the other players within a certain framework, because that framework, since it's not so strongly defined, can be a little bit challenging on what is the proper amount of information to share that's, in the spirit of the game, and what's the amount of information that kind of breaks the rules but in a kind of soft type of way. So with that's a little bit of a challenge for me, and I'm really looking forward to hearing the designers talk a little bit more about what conversations to have and what conversations not to have that might give too much away. But this game is an outstanding little light gateway game. The production is very nice, especially the little city tokens. Those are really nice, and I really like that Stonemaier Games reached out to the community and asked what tokens they would like to see. So well played there. So this game, I'm going to be probably, if Daniel doesn't, and I guess Daniel will be waiting to 12 midnight to back this game, we will have one copy, if not multiple copies. So Between Two Cities is now live on Kickstarter. Board Gamers Anonymous says, kick it off.